Alright, we are at Charlotte International. I'm getting ready to set up flight to Augusta Regional. This is the Dina 7 at Andes IRQ route, taking off from runway 18 left. Let me set up the weather. I believe I need out of the south. That'll be good. So I'll set up the waypoints first. You'll be able to keep track of them on the left-hand side. HISOR, then NIKIE, BAYAL, ACSIL, BEAVY, and then Andes. Now the IRQ VOR-TAC is not on the map, so we need to go ahead and set up our arrival. And I'll just set up a quick little route down to the landing strip. So here are the waypoints, all the way up to Andes. Jovis and the others aren't included normally, but the IRQ VOR-TAC isn't with this particular region. Okay, so there we are. Just today, just to make the flight go a little faster, I'm going to be flying a 737. The main reason also is the CRJ 200 does not perform well on my device. I lose flight control on landing. I have flight control everywhere on takeoff, in flight, also with the autopilot. Only place I do not have flight control with the CRJ 200 on my device is on landing. It won't land properly. Alright, so on the left-hand side, you see the waypoints we'll be running. The distance of today's flight is 132 nautical miles. So let's go ahead and set up the plane for takeoff. Alright, so I'll get our speed up. I'll set it around 180 for now, 185. We're only going to be flying at 12,000 feet today. And flaps 2. I'll set flaps 5. And our vertical speed. Right about 2,500 feet per minute, but I'll control that. Okay. And we're pretty much set to go, so without any delay, we'll go ahead and take off. So we'll take off the brakes, increase to 40%. Let our engine stabilize. We'll use about 80%. It's 80 knots. rotates. And that's positive rate gear up. Let's set our heading. Bouncing around a bit, sorry about that. Set our speed here. Once we get up to our cruising altitude, I'm going to go over a couple of things with you. We're cooking right along.
I did by knife. Only one screw down here. One screw. When I come here, these are going already open. And one screw is right here, right? By knife, I pull it down, but it don't connect that much.
There's some.
Yeah. It's going to let you know, yeah.
I'll let them know.
Yeah. But
we settle our plane down a little bit. We have another turn coming up in about 30 seconds. So I think what I'll do, I'm going to increase our speed. Go ahead and make this turn. I find it difficult sometimes to maintain my vertical speed and use my right thumb to make these changes when I'm trying to fly. We should be at elevation shortly. We're going to be cruising today right around 340 on the ground speed. have a funny suspicion that I may have forgotten to turn on my, no I did, I turned on my landing lights. I thought I forgot to turn my landing lights off. Alright, another turn, oops. God, look at that, I did it again. I gave my passengers a scare just there. I pitched my nose up. I've been trying to fly out onto elevation on this route when I do fly it. Let's turn the landing lights off and go ahead and get up to elevation. Get our speed up. So we'll be in Atlanta Regional very shortly. Add another 5 knots, and this will be our cruising speed right here. I'll set elevation. There, so we have our autopilot is on, controlling the flight from here. I'm going to go ahead and decrease the rate of climb. Alright, so I know that you noticed that I was going faster than 250 below 10,000. What I want you to do when you have an opportunity, if you go to FlightAware and check the Atlanta Regional to Charlotte route or vice versa, and track the flight, you'll notice the ground speeds. And on this flight, it's pretty normal, especially in the Canada Regional jet, the CRJ 200, that the pilots will travel faster than 250 on the below 10,000. Matter of fact, by the time they're at 6,500, they're usually going, I think, between 260 and 270 on the ground speed. And today, just for the purpose of making sure we don't have like a 40-minute flight, I wanted to use the 737 and stay as true to what happens on this flight as I can. There are times when the flights will go faster, and depending on weather, they may go up to flight level 130, but they only go as low as flight level 11,000 feet. They never hit transition altitude. So let's check where we are. Alright, we're looking good. We've had some pretty nasty weather in the southeast region lately, and even today here in DC is no different. As I'm filming this, we just had a pretty vicious thunderstorm blow through. Anyone that's flying on this route between Charlotte and Augusta Regional, because they're in such a small jet, either the Havilland Dash 8 or the CRJ 200, they're eye level with any thunder hits that are blowing past, and they should be getting a light show. I for one cannot stand flying past thunderheads. My last flight that I took from DC to Indiana, on the way back from Indiana into Reagan, we encountered some clouds at roughly 35,000 feet, I want to say. I mean, it's pretty amazing when you see clouds that high. So let me show you our livery for today's flight. There we are. That's a beautiful plane. We'll do this turn from the outside. And let's use this scene. So let's make that turn. And switch the scene. Man, that's a beautiful plane. You know, the developer of this app, they are to be commended for the changes that they've made and the advancements they've made in its rendering over the past few years. It's just, for me, it's one of the most enjoyable apps on the market. I have a blast flying, and I can tell you, especially flying the 737 and flying the Cessna 208, from the studying that I did online, and then coming back to the app and trying to put what I read to work in flying the planes, it's just made it so much more enjoyable. When the first time I downloaded this app, I had a Windows phone, and I remember the first time I tried to land my favorite plane, which is a 747, and I could not find the runway, and I crashed constantly for like a month. Just did nothing but crash. I didn't understand any of it. Nothing made sense. Let's jump back in the cockpit, and we need to start planning our descents. Okay, so we have 40. Once we get to we'll say I'll say 40 miles out, we'll go ahead and start, maybe sooner. For our beginners that are just starting, you're going to need to understand some basic math in order to plan your descents, depending on your altitude, especially when you start flying at 41,000 feet, that you have to have enough time and enough distance in order to make a good descent, because if you don't, you'll run out of one or the other. You'll either run out of time or you'll run out of space, and you'll have to do a go around to hit your mark. So we'll go ahead and do our initial descent. I'll probably fly in from 500 above. We're going to enter we're going to capture the glide slope at 2,800 feet today. And since today we aren't flying that high and or that fast, we can actually take our time with our descent. You can see our estimated time to our next waypoint is 6 minutes, and at least by the time I get there, I want to be at I'll say 3,500 feet. Usually on these flights, the pilots decrease their altitude on the last 5,000 feet in like 2 minutes. They're hitting between 2,000 and 2,200 feet per minute on the descent. Alright, let's get down to 700 feet, 75. We'll slow our speed, increase our rated descent to 1500s. Ground speed is about 318, that's good. Let's check our, alright, that's looking good. Typically on this flight, they're only at cruising altitude of 12,000 feet for between 6 to 10 minutes, and then they start descending. It's a very quick flight. Let's go ahead and set our altitude at 5,000. And we'll increase to 1,800s. I forgot to turn my landing lights on. That's why I need a co-pilot. Okay, and remember the tools that I gave you on previous videos is flightaware.com. Just put in for the Boeing 737-700 so that you can get flight specs. And you should be pretty safe to land at 120 knots. On final, I'll probably be at 135 knots. And it'll help me to maintain the 3 degrees on my descent. And like I said before, I'm gonna take the autopilot off right at 500 above, so that'll be roughly 600 on the altimeter. The Augusta Regional Airport is 100 feet above sea level. Let's go ahead and put our spoilers on, turn flaps down to 1. Okay, so we have 2 minutes before we're at our next waypoint, and we'll decrease to 4,000. 100. Arm our spoilers, flaps 5. Get our speed down to 240. Looking good here. Let's get our speed down to 230. Keep flaps set at 5. Alright, so we'll do our capture at 2,800 feet, and we'll hit that at 700 feet per minute. We can make this turn, initial turn, to capture the glide slope. No rush here, so let's make that turn now. Decrease our speed to 220. Look at that, that's beautiful. Add a little trim. Decrease our speed. We'll go ahead and go to a full map now, since we are coming on in for landing. Alright, we're looking good. And decrease our speed again. Got 2 minutes to our next waypoint, and we're actually looking good on the flight time. Not too far ahead on the schedule. This flight normally lasts anywhere from 20 to 35 minutes. The longest I've ever seen this flight last is 40 minutes. And there's a variety of reasons, and not the least of which is weather. Okay, and you know, we may have gotten down to the altitude of 2,800 a little early, but you know what? There, we just captured the glide slope. So I would rather be early than late. You don't want to be late. So as we capture this glide slope, you'll see it hit right at 2,800 feet, and I'll zero out, and I'm going to now decrease flaps to 10. I could actually drop the gear now. It'd be 300 feet early, but that's okay, maybe 200 feet early. And so we'll decrease the glide slope make this turn and get our rate of descent down to about 800 feet per minute. Increase our speed to 160.
2500.
And flaps 15. It's trim. Slow our speed down. Flaps 30. Alright, so as you see, our we'll be right on point in just a second. We have to make another turn. And we're about to make that turn now. There we go. Flaps 40. Slow our speed down. Okay, we're looking good.
1000.
Alright, so we're going to get